Welcome to the Freedom Conversation podcast from Nova Scotia. I have Eden Cause with me from Just Be LLC. How are you today?
Ah, David, I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm awesome. I'm awesome. You are
Good.
you know what? I'm going to open your bio. I'm going to open my notes. You are a soul alignment specialist. Wow.
Uh-huh.
Why don't I read this whole paragraph, hey? Right off the website. And then
Okay.
I wrote some of my own notes too, of my own words, but I think this will be good to get us all started on the right foot. So,
Sounds great.
in conducting this soul alignment work for decades, my own recent radical shifts have aligned with the huge earth ascension that is going on as we speak, combining my near-death experience, energy work, intuition, Christ consciousness, empathy, meditation, mindfulness, psychic ability, Reiki, Akashic records, mediumship, dimensions, parallel lives, the cosmos, and more. I have a lot of notes, ladies and gentlemen. We might be here for 3 hours. I literally wrote down so many notes about all of these things, but we'll do our best. We'll get through some of them. And finally, it says, cosmos and more. My unique work, her unique work, heals a physical issue from acute to chronic, down to discovering your place in the world and your true desires of the heart. Okay. You're a healer, are you?
Yeah.
Of sorts?
Yeah.
Well,
To sum
you're,
it up.
you know what I wrote down here?
Yeah.
Jack of all trades in
There
the
you go.
spiritual uh, paradigm. Would
Love
you
that.
consider yourself that, like a jack? You do so many things in the spiritual aspect.
Y- Yes, because part of it, I've been doing this for over 20 years. And for me, it's not only helping my clients grow, but I have to grow myself. So, who I was when I first started to what I am now and what I do now, because I've learn more tools and during this great ascension, as we're going to talk about, every week for me I evolve. I mean, it's so fast. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy good.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying there because I also feel an exacerbated rate of change in my body
Yes.
and my mind, but I'm doing the
Yeah.
right things. I'm actually feeling stronger and more
Yes.
empowered as things continue, but only because I'm very fortunate. I have a garden. I'm getting chickens very soon. I'm working on a fence for my chicken coop, and we're living not off grid completely, but we're living this idyllic life, the homestead or the forest, eating our own vegetables, organic, eating fresh, eating healthy, So for those reasons, I feel very healthy also, but this does give me a lot of spiritual awareness, I guess. But when I say spiritual, I think it's more maybe ordinary. And you also practice this concept of just be and just be
Hmm.
ordinary. And you're into meditation, as I am.
Hmm.
So, okay, so there's two ways we can take our conversation. We could look
Yeah.
at your background a little first. Let's get everyone situated because, as you can see, I want to go straight to the big stuff. But we
Okay.
got we got listeners here. We got to help everybody get on the same page. So I want to just ask this: where were you born and raised?
Well, okay. So I'm in the States, David.
Hmm.
So a lot of this will be very American centered. But also I believe that America, and this is not coming from an ego standpoint, because there is a lot, oh, I'm American yeah, it's not that. But I feel during this great awakening too, that America is a very pivotal point because there is a lot of control here, a lot of density here. So I feel that the way that America goes, a lot of the world is going to go as well. So
I
to
agree with that.
bring it,
We have a
okay.
saying in Canada, and I'll let you continue, but we have a saying here that when the United States catches a cold, no, how does it go?
Oh,
Canada catches a cold when America gets, anyway. So there's some thing that when whatever happens in America happens here in a slightly different way, because you do have this expansion power from your center, perhaps. I don't know. We have such a small population, but please, anyway,
okay.
continue.
Yeah. So I was born in the state of Georgia. Well, I was born in Albuquerque, but it's because my dad was in the Vietnam War and he was a conscientious objector, which means he basically was not going to carry a gun and to kill anybody, which is really interesting too. And that my name was given to me, Eden. I mean, that's really interesting too, because a lot of people ask me, "Is that your real name?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it sure is." So I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because my dad would not carry a gun. And usually, when you're a conscientious objector, that does not mean that you're held out from war. So, a lot of the objectors would be in the bloodiest of battles. And my dad ended up in New Mexico. So I was born there. So he was from Georgia. My mom was from Florida. So when that was done, we moved back to Georgia. And at 2 years old, grew up in a little southern town called Statesboro, Georgia, which thank goodness it was a college town. So my dad was there to teach at the college. So it was very conservative, very Christian. And my parents, so my dad was going to be a priest, decided not to be a Catholic priest. So we grew up not going to church. So this is important.
Mhm.
I felt like a heathen because and I used to talk like this too. Everybody, when you come to school, was like, what'd you do at church we'd come to school on Monday. What'd you do to church this weekend? And people just didn't go to church on Sundays. I
Mm.
mean, it was Wednesdays. It was so
Yes.
in your face. So I attempted, like, I think it was 9 years old. I told my parents I wanted to go to church, and they were like, okay, Eden, you can do that, but you're going to have to ride your bike. So I would get on my little bicycle and ride to this one church. And I read the Bible and tried to be like everybody else, and it just didn't fit.
Mhm.
And I read the Bible too, and I was like, this God in here kills people, is so judgmental. And the things about women, just the, whores and prostitutes and like, I feel like who was I to read this book for grown-ups? Like there was a part of it that I was just like, so, oh, David, I'm just getting into all of this.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
please. No, I really,
yeah.
I love your accent too. You're wonderful to listen to. Please continue.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you.
No, please.
So I had abandoned God because when I went to this church group as well, they were very clicky. And there's this little girl showing up on her bike. Like to me, if I was a leadership team, I would be like, oh my gosh, look at her. What can we do? And we can embrace her. And she doesn't even go to this church. Who is this kid?
Mhm.
So I felt at the time I wasn't embraced. I just gave up on the concept of God and that I couldn't figure it out. So that's when meditation came into play. So I was in my late 20s, worked in advertising at the time and creative. And suddenly my life was really out of balance. I was working too much. So I went out to dinner with two of my friends and they talked about my soon to be teacher, that it's a meditation class. And I was like, okay, meditation, whatever. Yet it was the way they spoke about her that I was like, okay, this really seems interesting. I'll give it a try. And within, like, you had to take a weekend class to make sure it was a fit for you if you wanted to continue on. And David, right off the bat, like, I fit in, I found my place. And after studying with her for 6 years, and I didn't realize it was a study, um, that I knew I was a student, but not this way. So I was married at the time, and my husband got a job that was going to move us to Alabama in the States. And my teacher basically said, you need to start teaching this. So I abandoned my quote unquote career, my normal career, and started doing this work. So yeah, I can go much into that
Yeah,
too. What
there's
questions do you have
very
for me?
interesting. Yeah, there's a lot we could get into regarding even just your background.
Yeah.
And well, why don't we just plug the Grimerica podcast? Because that's where
Yeah.
I listened to you there. They're buddies of mine.
Yeah.
Graham's been on here, so anybody can check out the Grimerica podcast where you go, your whole story's there, and the near death experience you
Hmm.
had. Would you say that your near death experience was a launch pad into some of these greater spiritual endeavors like the Council of
No.
Nine, etc.? No, but if that was okay, tell me, let's go into the near death experience and let's get close
Okay.
to 2019 and then the 2020.
All right. So at this time, it was 2016 when this happened. I had just, again, I'm in Akron, Ohio right now. I had a studio, a meditation studio, had two people working with me. Okay. There aren't meditation studios at that
Mm.
point, or, there were yoga studios, but this was very unique. And I was like, oh, look at me. And we had merchandise to sell. It was just going so great. And So I was very spiritual at the time, very connected, my faith in God and all that is, was really great. Yet I will preface, I didn't at this point, I didn't know about the Great Awakening. I didn't know about that until the lockdowns and all that happened in 2020. And I always believed that we were not the only people on this planet, but I'd never really gotten further into that until 2020. So within a week, my health, you would say, plummeted. So to the point where if my husband hadn't encouraged me to get out of bed, I would have just laid in bed. It hurt to talk. It hurt to do anything. And it was so rapid, this decline, that if I hadn't had someone go, let's go, I would have just shut everything out. So we ended up, after a process, going to the emergency room, and within a short period of time, there was a lesion in my lung and 3 in my brain, which, David, you may think this is very interesting in doing meditation, that it's all so much about the brain and the heart. And they basically said, we are pretty sure this is stage 4 lung cancer. And I was like, whoa. And I was so grateful that there was a reason that I was feeling the way that I was, that this wasn't just, happening for, out of the blue. So, and doing some of the spiritual work for so long, it wasn't upsetting. It was like, oh, well, here we go on this adventure. And the near-death experience after I ended up having 2 craniotomies, which is brain surgery. After the first one, and this was the only time I didn't have anybody in the hospital with me at night, because a lot of stuff goes on at night. Yet I woke up in the morning just kind of out of it, because I just had this surgery back here. And I was in the ICU at the hospital. And then suddenly it was just like heaven. My door was wide open. Heaven and hell was right there in front of me. Someone came in, emergency situation, crying. There was throwing up. Then there were people from the emergency staff or the ICU staff that were laughing. So it was everything right in front of me. And so it was like God literally tapped me on the shoulder. So there wasn't this great light, and, everybody that I loved who'd passed over was there. And I've since this time, and talking to other people about this experience, it, like, some of that is kind of a potentially a fallacy as well. So God just came down and basically said, hey, here's life. I mean, the grotesqueness, the beauty of it. You can choose to stay here, or if you want, you can just come up into heaven, ascend, whatever. There's no judgment at all. And you can just close your eyes. It's that easy. Yet, let me tell you this. Okay. And I went from the surgery, basically, the doctors had said, we don't know how it's going to be when you come out of the surgery. You may not be able to walk again. There's no telling what you're going to be like. So I didn't know what the future was going to hold. And God said, if you decided to stay, and I use the word God too, because I like a very personal relationship so there's source, the universe. So anyway, it was stated to me, if you decide to stay, you're going to learn a lot. I mean, the magnitude is just going to be great. Yet you decide. Totally up to you.
Wow. And it was a nonchalant question from God, wasn't it? Because you said that someone said to you, it was almost such a simple decision in your mind at that moment, as if you wanted a hamburger or pizza.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly.
Something very simple happening. It was just like, okay, choose this way or choose this way. Almost like either could be fine, or
either would be fine.
Wow.
And it wasn't also this grand fanfare of, this light that comes down, because probably for me, if it was that, I'd been like, ooh, that's really amazing. Let's do that. Yet I was also on one show where what was stated that simple is so good. And it was so truthful. Like, there was no judgment, easy. And for me, that's what spirituality is. It's just, not to say it's not hard. There have been moments for a dark night of the soul, that sort of thing. But it was just, you whatever you want to do, it's good. So I decided to stay, obviously. And I'm amazed. Okay, so it was 2 years of healing from that. I mean, from the learning how to walk again, learning how to talk again. And there was only 1 week where I was depressed because I was feeling really bad and it didn't seem like things were getting better. But outside of that, I was really high vibe. So my mom even says, Eden, I can't believe how, up you were with everything. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's where I am in life. That's what I do. That's what I practice. This is, how it
Mhm.
should have been. So it wasn't about, having this health experience where I didn't believe in God and I didn't treat my body well. And, I had to transform all of that. It was just a getting a closer relationship with God, realizing that my path in the studio, that I needed to let it go, that I needed to bring my sessions back in home, in house, where I could really focus on doing that work versus doing the marketing and doing all these other things that I was doing. And then having this experience helps me relate to anybody else who's had a major health experience, who's had something really break down in their life. And they come to me and they're like, woe is me. And I look at them and go, I had that.
Mhm.
Okay. So what's your problem here? So getting a little
Mhm.
like, come on. It's okay. I've been there. You can get through this. So that having that experience was transcendental, was very good for me too. So I can relate to
Mhm.
a whole bunch of different people. So
Mhm.
there were so many gorgeous reasons that this needed to happen. And then, even solidifying my belief in the divine and goodness and being able to share the story. I mean, it's a pretty cool story and that people
Yeah.
want to know about. So
Yeah.
if I didn't have
Yeah.
that, you know, I I
Yeah.
I like
People
being
who
able to talk
often
about it.
are on the doorstep of death and return are usually quite changed. And even sometimes
Yes.
people have a car accident and not quite even a
Yes.
near-death experience, but go through hell in their life in many ways, even a mental health scare, nervous breakdowns,
Hmm.
drug problems,
Yeah.
people go through the dark, like you say, the dark night of the soul sometimes, and even approach
Oh
the
yeah.
doorstep of death itself. But sometimes they return from these places and they have similar things to
Yes.
say, that they feel free because they're not afraid anymore. And the fear of death, I think, drives a lot of psychosis in people. What do you think of that?
Mhm. Oh, I don't believe we ever die. It's just a paradigm that we are in this world thought to believe. Also, I
Mhm.
believe that we are limitless, that our soul goes on, that nothing ever dies. So I'm not frightened of death. I'm not scared of what's next. I also believe that we are in a matrix right now. I kind of like a dream as well. So I'm
I agree with you there, and we could talk about that.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about, David? Oh my gosh, this is
We're
juicy.
okay. Okay, we're getting into the juicy stuff, people. There we go. Let's have some fun. No, you're
Okay.
wonderful. You're a wonderful person, and you got a great
Oh.
podcast. I was even going to screen share and just show everybody just quickly, or just where to go, make it easy. Hey,
Oh, please. Thank
let's do that.
you.
Let's do that. Okay, screen share coming up momentarily. Here we go. Clicking and boom. There we go.
Ah,
On YouTube, just be right here. Everybody can see it. Go find it. And there's a lot of stuff in here, my friends. And I've watched
look at you.
six, seven of these things. And my goodness, you get some great guests. Wow, some of these people I have actually emailed myself. Just yeah, I want to talk about this stuff. Oh my God.
Oh,
Where
neat.
are we gonna go from here? Oh my God. Should I just choose what I want to ask you next?
Sure. And I will bring up, thank you so much for showing my YouTube channel. So I'm on
Yeah,
Rumble and BitChute as well, because YouTube
right.
has been shadow banning me.
Mm,
So if anyone wants to subscribe to YouTube, I so appreciate it. I'm just doing a test right now because it's been really interesting. I'll know that 2 people subscribe and then I'll check my subscribers and suddenly it's gone up and it goes down. And I
mm.
just look at it going, okay,
Yeah,
it's
that's why
really
I'm not going
interesting.
to use YouTube myself. I'm just not going to. After all the COVID censorship, I find
Yes,
them to
censored.
be detestable, and I'm not going to
Hmm.
even go there
I
because I
would
know it's going
agree.
to happen on day one. I'll probably be gone anyway. But tell me more about your channel. Let's tell everybody where they can go find you, and then we're going to have some fun.
Yes. Well, my website is edenjustbe.com. So my podcasts are all in there. All the links are there. My merchandise is there too. I'm very excited. Do you mind if I talk about the merchandise for a
Are you,
moment,
is this some
David?
right now? Starseed in
Yes.
this? Okay, we're going to talk about starseeds too. Please go ahead. Say anything you want.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and the merchandise isn't to, it helps bring in monetary gain or whatever you want to call it. But the purpose of it is I have patriot merchandise,
Oops.
cosmic merchandise, spiritual
Sorry.
merchandise,
Sorry.
and oh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm just adjusting my camera. Sorry, adjusting
Okay.
my camera. Sorry about that.
That's
Okay,
okay.
please continue.
So the point of all this is to speak your truth without having to speak. I think wearing a shirt. So I have the Patriots shirts, which this one was banned on TikTok. So one of my clients and dear friends has a TikTok channel, Epstein's List, just with a question mark. Let's see. So, oh gosh, Patriot. Why am I suddenly forgetting everything? I do not consent. Michelle is a man, which I think is a good one. And then Galactic Humans, Starseeds. We're in the shift together. And I just encourage people, especially those listening to your show, that you can just, are you a sheeple? So my daughter did the artwork for that one, which is so fun. Just wearing these statements out and about without having to say anything,
Mhm.
it's so good. So I would encourage, and I love your shirt too. So I know you talked about that that's a band, but just being, yeah, just showing people. And there's one shirt that I have, the Illuminati sucks. And I wore that one day,
Okay,
and
I think
not all
I might get
Illuminati.
this one. I'm gonna get this
Yeah.
one. I'm gonna put links in the show notes to get all this stuff. I'm going to get this t-shirt and I'm not kidding, and I will wear it hopefully within 2 weeks. But I got to get it from the United States. God knows how that, Canada's a
How
communist
long that
country. We
will?
may not even receive the damn thing.
Oh my gosh. Well, I
Nah,
did have
nah,
someone in
but
Europe get theirs pretty quickly.
okay.
So free thinker. Yeah, it's just so fun. So yeah, it was so fun wearing the Illuminati sucks because the way people react to it. I
Hmm.
had people just like this woman in this store. She pointed to me and she goes, "It takes guts to wear a shirt like that."
Yeah.
Like, and then
And you know what I like about that message too? Something else
yeah,
tickles my funny bone, which I think is very important. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, because we can talk about all this stuff, but we're going to laugh and carry on, because those people they're jokesters, they're fools. They really are
Mhm.
fools, these evil
Yes,
people. They think they're so serious and they're going to control everybody. You know what?
yes.
If you laugh at them, I don't know, you become not afraid, at least, maybe.
Yes. And there's nothing about this to have fear with. And when I talk about the shirts too, even with Michelle as a man, not in no way dissing Michelle or dissing, it's just again to wake people up. And I really put an intention with all these shirts that they are all high vibe, that they all have heart. This one gentleman, when I was wearing the Illuminati suck shirt, he goes, "Oh my gosh, all the cloning," and so it's interesting what level people are on and what they've heard of. And he was like, "I can't investigate that anymore because it's too difficult." And it was so neat. It opened a window for me to go, "It's all okay. Take a look, educate yourself, but also know how powerful you are, and that this really doesn't have to affect you. It's a part of what I believe is a great ascension that's going on right now." So
Oh,
it opens up these
good segue.
incredible conversations.
Yeah, sure. No, no. And
Yeah.
I think I've pulled a segue here. The Great Ascension. But first, let me
Yes.
say this. We have a saying in the Tibetan Buddhist community: smile at fear.
Ah,
So when I hear
yes.
Illuminati sucks on a t-shirt, it triggers this thought that I've been so well trained in. Smile at fear. No, okay. The Great Ascension, the Great Awakening,
Yeah.
the title of this podcast. This is the first time I've chosen the
Ooh.
title before we've talked. Usually I wait till the
Oh,
conversation's over and then come up with a fun title. The Great Awakening and the Great Divide with
yes.
Eden Cause.
Ooh.
Hello. Now, let's have some fun. Gee whiz, the Great Awakening.
Yeah.
Are we in a great awakening?
Oh, yeah. And I'll use even hell yes, we are. And it's so funny with the podcast. I was in a constitutional group here, and it's split because of narcissism, which is a big thing. So I started doing the podcast because I'm like, okay, what can I do on my own? And every week I check in. So it's been almost 2 years. I check in on myself. Do I keep doing this? And yes, is the answer, because it helps me grow so much. And the people that I talk to, because the podcast is about the Great Awakening. So we are, I believe, going through this. I'm going to look off for a second. This masterful ascension. So I come from a vibration standpoint, that our vibration, that Mother Earth, her vibration is increasing, and we get to choose if we're going to latch onto that or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about, if you are attuned to chakras, our chakras are increasing, our DNA strands are increasing. We as a species are evolving. And it is just, and part of that is breaking through this darkness, this slavery that we've been in for centuries. That is what this is. So it is a spiritual battle of, if you want to call it God and Satan, evil and goodness. And I've seen some of them.
I do choose to just take that
Yeah.
road because it makes it easy for me. Like, and
Yeah.
I think about Lord of the Rings often, how this great darkness and a great light actually sometimes do have a clash of time and space.
Yes.
And I do feel that sometimes, that we are on a road that needs to turn around.
Exactly. And that also means that all of these and this is the challenging part with spiritual people. Like, there are a lot of spiritual people that, are connected to the divine, yet this part of it, the Great Awakening piece, where that means that everything is going to crumble, our Western medicine, healthcare, education systems, financial systems. And that also means that politicians, people in Hollywood, that so much of this is a lie. And that these people that have been put in levels of power, they are not good. They are not who they think they are. And that is really hard for people to look at. And COVID and the lockdowns and all of that was meant to control, that none of it was real, that the science behind that is not real. And that's really hard for people to stomach, to go, this whole thing is a farce. This whole world is a farce.
About 20 years ago, I went to hear a guy give a talk. He said he was from the CIA, retired, and he was a subcontractor, and he was an expert in remote viewing.
Yes.
And he conducted experiments, and he claims that him and his team, they were seeing Mars 50,000 years into the future and stuff like this. And so I asked the inevitable question, well, what are they seeing? And he said, it's very dark because after 2012, there's going to be a shift where our consciousness can't quite see everything. Anyway, I guess, but one takeaway that I'll bring up here.
Yeah.
He said that there is a great awakening coming. So this was 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And it did stick with me. And this is the thing he said. Some people are engaged in yoga, meditation, today, spiritual growth. Those people will have an easier time with what's coming. They will, not only that, but their practice will get exacerbated. The people who still want to eat McDonald's every day, whatever, live that life of judgment and hate, shut down free speech, like people who I know personally who just scream and yell whenever you want to talk about anything at all, frankly, these days.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that? About how are people going to really go through a hard time also if they're not snapping out of this?
I feel right now there is a great split, a great divide that's going on, because there are many people, okay, let me see how I want to state this, that are okay sticking their head in the sand. Because again, and it's not having judgment about anybody, yet knowing this is really hard, because I work with a lot of clients, and part of my role is to ease them into these possibilities. And some are open to them, and some are like, no, I don't want to hear anything about that. So I also, okay, within this, all right, hopefully I'm explaining this well, David.
Well, we're getting into some heavy stuff here. Take your time. Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time.
There are also a lot of truthers and patriots within this who also see, I've heard, they're 20 major cities in the United States that are potentially going to be destroyed. There is a lot of darkness that is put out there. So for me, in terms of the Great Split, I am not going to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
am moving towards beauty, towards connectedness. I don't want to be in hell. And it's been essentially hell on earth for all this time. So there are those that believe that this darkness is coming, that they are in the darkness. And there are those of us that see it, are a part of it, but not in it. And knowing that as we increase our vision, as we increase our connection to beauty and to the added dimensions that are coming, that it's almost like this can be avoided, because essentially I'm not a part of that world anymore. I don't want to be a part of it. I
Yeah.
Yeah, what else can I say with that?
Yeah.
That feels good.
Yep. Yep. I like that. And I'll add maybe one thing that
Yes, please.
a good friend advised me that you don't need them. You know, friends want to not answer your emails, or you feel frustrated that you would like to rekindle your old friendships with some of these people, even family members. When I don't have the family member part, but some people really do. Families are busted up because of propaganda. And I think psychological war is spiritual war in some
Yes.
sense. So I have to try to, it's hard when you're a spiritual person and you want peace to see things happening in the world. My wife had, there's a vaccine mandate here in my province of Nova Scotia for 2.5 years at the hospital. So she's a registered nurse. She wasn't allowed to work. So this type of tyranny almost makes you have to sell your house,
Yeah.
to become poor on the street, to flee the country. We almost fled the country.
I've met many people from Canada, because
So
y'all got, it's pretty
yeah,
tough there.
it's still tough. It's still tough here. We're going through a decline in Canada of some Marxist flavor, and I think that there's a
Yeah.
Luciferian inversion
Yeah.
of reality happening across the world.
Great way to put it. Yes. And
Upside,
I will,
they call it clown world, right? But I think it's Luciferian
uh,
world. Yeah.
mhm.
What do you think?
And well, I'll have to add into that, 4 years ago, that was when I got a divorce from my husband. All my relationships changed. So, marital relationships, and then essentially coming out that, I believe that there's a great awakening going on. I believe in, I was very vocal about the changes that I saw. And within that, I had old clients come basically saying, Eden, you're not what we thought you were. So it was this, and this is what the Great Awakening is also. It's getting rid of all these relationships that aren't on your vibration, that don't serve you anymore, getting rid of narcissism. So it has to happen. And it's challenging, because I've been there too. Man, I've been through a lot.
Yeah, we
Like
all
when we
have.
talk about, right, the near death experience and all that. And yes,
Yeah.
it is, especially those who are on this path of consciousness, the things that you have to see, the things that you have to do. Like for me too, I have to do these. I can't just go, oh, look at you. You need to split from this, and you need,
Mhm.
I had to do all these. I had to step out. So
So
it's
let's
been,
do an alchemy analogy. You know,
yes. Ooh,
when
neat.
you're turning lead into gold, you know, obviously it's very metaphorical, although maybe they can
Yeah.
really do it. I don't know. But obviously through the Enlightenment period, all these guys in the basements, these mystical guys, you know, there's an analogy about all of this, about the spiritual path. And it
Yeah.
is that when you're boiling all these things together in the crucible, this scum floats to the surface, this impurities, and you have to
Mhm.
scoop that off and throw that away, and then you pour out the pure. So this dross, the DROS, the scum that forms when you're trying to make your gold out of lead. And I don't want to use the word scum to reference people, but I'm just mean, as you say, people are falling away as if you're an
Mhm.
asteroid flying through space, and things are just flying off of you that you don't need anymore. And
Nice.
that just came to my head. Is that too
I
far? That comet analogy?
I love that. I'm going to take it and embrace it. And
Please.
and
Yeah.
part of this great awakening too, and I'm going to add this, is I've connected, I call them parallel lives instead of past lives, because I believe that there is no time, that everything, and I've seen from my my own being, my own soul, that I was, for example, a serial killer. I was a ruler somewhere in Asia and hurt generations of families. So I've seen this darkness that is out in the world that I am it. I have been part of it. So none of this is separate from us, too. Like part of this great awakening is to accept the darkness versus pushing away from it, love it, because I am not separate from it. I am it. And once you're able to blend both of those together, it just starts to fall away.
Yeah. That relates to the
And
simulation theory, which you alluded to. I don't
yes.
think you said simulation theory, but you alluded to it.
Mhm.
How everything that's happening in the world is actually generated from our own mind, maybe.
Yes.
As if there's a light and a projector. Our body could be said as a projector, and then somewhere in our mind there's a light and it shines out on the world. What do you
Yeah.
think of that concept?
Oh yeah. And as we continue talking about stuff, it just gets wild. I
Yeah.
mean, I've
Yeah.
also heard that, potentially our spine and our brain is in fluid and we're here. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's the thing. Yeah. Yeah.
going to the movie The Matrix, like so much
Mm.
as I continue, so much of that continues to be true. Like I watch and I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's conceptualizing or drinking it in that this is a dream, even though, you touch your skin and it all feels so real. It's
Mm.
just crazy how I, I can't even put words to it. Every week
I
for
could
me, it gets
I
crazy
can.
and crazier. Okay, go.
Let me
You start.
let me take that thought a little about the simulation, about non-physicality and
Yeah,
the mind. I have to really get my intuitive, you know.
let's go. I'm there with you. Feel it.
um there's a dream maybe that we are in because matter itself, partless particles, the people say there's particles that make up the physical reality, but these particles disappear and reappear in all different places all the time. So there is nothing physical. And that's just hard science, I guess. But and we could go farther. Um, to live in a state of wonder about the world, like a child,
Yes.
like, and just feel fascinated all the time, does feel like the right attitude in some
Feels
sense.
good,
And
right?
I'm rambling and wondering, but these are just how my feelings too. And I do feel
Yeah.
that way often. Usually if I'm not stressed out, or I do some meditation and go pull some carrots out of the ground and wash them and just chew on those things can really transcend you into out of this meat suit,
Yeah.
the taxation system, the COVIDian cult, the Canadian Marxist government. This is all very
Oh,
physical, very
yes.
dominating dark types of things. But anyway, maybe I've gotten my point out that I think that a childlike free wonder about the world is something we could tap into. What do you think of that?
Yes, I completely agree. And I'm going to tag this onto it. So,
Okay.
part of this great awakening, too, we have all these ascended masters. So, this is to become a human embodiment of that. So, it is suddenly not to escape into the heavens, but how can we be that here on earth? How can we be ascended and be in this meat suit? Like that is essentially what this is. So it's hard to be here too. There have been with the teachers that I've had, they've always come back to me like, "Oh, Eden, you're out in the clouds. Ground yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Be here because that is where you need to be."
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this masterful time of not going away, just being. Okay, okay, let's talk about meditation for a second
Please,
because
yeah.
I believe that meditation is everything. So tell me about your, if you wouldn't
Well,
mind, where you are with that,
well,
and
I'll
then we'll
give
go
you
into
just
it
a
further.
Cole's notes, a few bullet points of my meditation background. I'm
Yeah.
46. I'm 46 now. And when I was 19 or 20, I had a friend who was sitting on the couch meditating, listening to some music and stuff. And I was like, what are you doing there? Anyway, so I got into it. I tried it out. And then I did just on and off dabbling. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was feeling good. And went to university around age 21 or 22 as a
Yeah.
mature student. I didn't finish high school, but anyway, I made it into university through some upgrading courses. And then I started to study religion. I have a Bachelor of Arts in just academic study of religion, all of the religions. But
Wow.
on the Buddhism classes, I kept thinking, oh my goodness, life is suffering. Well, that's true. What else are they saying? Anyway, long story short, I ended up at a Buddhist temple. I was like, hi, I'm here on your doorstep. I'd like to learn meditation, and I'd like to learn more about your philosophy, please, if you don't mind. Basically, that's it. And then next thing you know, a few years later, I'm in a monastery.
Okay, where'd you go?
Gampo Abbey, Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Pema Chodron is a name a lot of people know.
Yes. Yep.
That's her. She's the abbot, or the abbess. Abbot. I don't know.
Okay.
That's her place. It's a Tibetan style monastery, and you can go and live there the rest of your life if you want to. So I went, and there's a 6-month training before you can take your robes and shave your head. But I didn't make it to the 6 months because it's hard to become a monk. It's not a game.
Yes. Right.
You need to be able to sit on your ass many, many hours per day. It's not easy for a Westerner, too.
Can I comment on that for a
Please,
second? When I
jump
had
in.
the infection, that was the same thing, that all I could do was just be. And I think that was one of the, well, I know that was one of the reasons too, that I couldn't do anything else but just sit and just be.
So
For
that's
at least,
it.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my practice is it's space meditation, not outer
Mm-hmm.
space, but a spacious feeling. And the out breath would be my technique, physical technique. You go out with the breath, and then you hang out. This is almost a mantra you could even say to yourself if you need to calm your thinking.
Yes.
Out with the breath, you feel the breath go out, and then you hang out. And the in breath will come natural. And you can check your posture once in a while. You don't need to get too, nothing fancy is going on here. And this is my practice. Yes. It's bare bones. It's very bare bones. You sit there and you breathe. No games. But sometimes things happen you are not expecting. Visions, chakras, you can see them spinning around. Now that's wild stuff. But that happened all at the monastery. I don't practice that hard anymore. But when you practice that hard, my friend, and as you may know, things happen that you do not expect.
They do. I would tag on to that meditation is the way to connect you to source. And I like guided meditations, all that's good stuff. Yet the quiet, not having anybody direct you, not having anything but you sit and listen. And it's also listening to yourself, because there's all this stuff that we have in our mind that goes on. And it's not, I believe, also just sitting there and pushing all of that away. Like there are times when you need to sit and really listen to your thoughts, because a lot of times you realize, oh my, I can't believe that I've been saying this in my mind. So one of my things a while back was I was in my living room, and suddenly I just heard this thought pattern. So I wasn't in meditation with this, that I'm lonely. And I was like, oh my gosh, that has been in my brain, in my conscious, in my field for all these years. And in hearing that, I could really start to work with it. So I also think that one of the ways you can really hear your subconscious thoughts and what's going on in there is through meditation. Oh, yeah. So it's not just to connect to the divine, but to connect to the divine in you, to connect to the human in you, to connect to, like, that's how one of the ways I started seeing some of these parallel lives in meditation. I not only experienced it, but I felt it physically. Like it was undeniable that something had happened to me. And I also hear that maybe that a lot of us are imprinted with these things, that they didn't really happen to us, that we just have them just so we can associate and understand people. So again, so complex. But I'm with you that it's not this great, oh my gosh, I'm going to meditate now and I have to do this and I have to have my posture a certain way. You just need to sit and
Mhm.
be.
Mhm.
And the one thing that I do tell people, the hand posture that I use from this is an open-handed. So there are a lot of mudras you can do which affect
Mhm.
the energy that comes through the body. Yet open-handed basically says I am ready and I am here and I am conscious.
Mhm.
So I'm ready to receive whatever I need to connect with. So I really enjoy that.
Another mudra, the Zen. If you see a Zen monk, they have make a circle with their hands, sort of, and hold it
Hmm.
sort of over their belly button. This perfect circle that they hold, and they
Mm.
imagine a piece of paper could slide between their thumbs. They're not
Ooh,
touching. So this is where they focus
nice.
their mind on this thumb, and they're breathing through the hole. They're breathing through the
Oh,
stomach. They call it the hara, and the karate too, like the hui. Everything in Japan comes from the gut. So in the Buddhist meditation is not a game, and it's way too militaristic for me. I
ooh,
take a
yeah.
different. I'm a Westerner. I like to relax a little when I meditate. I don't want to be like. And you know what? They smack each other with sticks over there. If you're slumped, the master will walk
Oh
by and whack you
man.
with because.
Whoa.
But if you want to straighten your mind out in a hurry, go to Japan. They'll help you. Anyway, because it's
Oh,
an old tradition out there, right? This meditation, they take it very seriously.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
A bit of fun, bit of fun. Hey, who
Yes.
are the Galactic Federation of Light? I've been wanting to ask somebody this forever. Is there anything you can tell me about this? I'm
Yes.
fascinated. I can't figure it out.
Yes. So let me back up a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, that's a bit of a pivot,
I
isn't it?
it's a great pivot.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. How do I even go here? So when
Maybe that's too big of a
I
pivot. Should we I don't know, a
let's do
segue?
a little segue
Okay,
into that.
let's segue into that.
Let's segue.
Let's segue.
So
Yeah.
when I found out, again, being a very spiritual person, but then suddenly breaking into this world of slavery, this is not what it appears to be. And Tom Hanks is not, and Oprah is, and Obama. And again, I'm using a lot of United States names
Oh no, we hear all that
that,
stuff, but trust me, in Canada, we only hear about the United States.
oh my gosh.
Trump is on
Okay.
the news every day, and they call him the worst things. And oh, anyway,
Oh,
you can
yes,
imagine. You
yes.
have the same news down there as we do.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah,
Yeah.
not
No.
listening to all of that
Yeah.
television and the stories. So my mentor, it was I had started conceptualizing my marital divorce, and so I asked for a divorce 3 weeks before the lockdown. So he traveled a good bit, and then suddenly I have two daughters. We were all at home. So if y'all can even imagine that. Uh, Yet during this process, my mentor that I've been seeing for years, and I guess she knew I was ready for this, she basically said, "Hey, COVID is not about COVID." And as soon as she said that, one of my clients sent me Fall of the Cabal and coming, what's the great one about Darkness in the Shadows, or the one that's about Hollywood,
Mhm.
Out of the Shadows. So these things just came and I watched them, and suddenly it just blew me wide open to that. And I had always had, again, this concept that we are not alone, but I hadn't really explored that. And within this process, discovering that I'm a star seed, which basically, and it completely made sense to me because I've never felt like I fit here, especially growing up down south and never fitting in with any of that. And any place that I've been, always been kind of like a black sheep, or people called me a cult leader, that I worked with the devil and all this kind of stuff. Um, but then understand, like, when I found this out, I started crying, David, because suddenly my life made sense, that I'm not from here, that so many of us are these galactic beings, and that so much of Earth is a fallacy
Is
in
is it
terms of the
flat?
dinosaurs. I
Not the flat thing, right? Or
I
sorry,
I
I
I
threw a
am
wrench in.
not,
I threw a wrench in there. Sorry.
well, I'm not a flat earther per se, but
Okay.
I'm also, I don't disregard any concepts, because if we're in a matrix, there's no friggin' telling what
Yeah,
our
I
world
think it's
is really
important too.
like.
I also try to take that attitude where I really don't know everything, and I think
Yes.
that's a good position sometimes.
Yeah, because I learn something every week, and when you learn something new, suddenly you have another additional 100 questions with that. So
Yeah.
it's just so when I first found out or connected with being a star seed, I had heard from many that I'm a Palladian descent, and I was really interested in. Oh, there's so many star seeds. What can I be a part of? And now I'm to this point where it doesn't matter. I feel that I've been in so many different galaxies, had so many different experiences, and none of this is really important anymore. And I get a lot of guidance from galactical beings, from ascended masters. And I'm also to the point where I don't care where you come from. I don't need to know all the parameters around it because it doesn't matter anymore.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter, which is so great. Again, just letting go of needing to know things and the scholarly part of everything. So, the Galactic Federation of Light is this group of highly evolved beings that are here to help this planet ascend. That they do not step in unless they're asked to be, because again, we have free will. Yet, I also believe that we are heading towards ascension, that nothing is going to stop us, that it isn't. And I also believe that maybe there are going to be catastrophes on earth, but again, that's the big split. We are ascending now. It is happening. It can't be stopped. God has won, essentially, if you want to say win or lose, even though it's not really about that's very judgment.
I get a feeling of feeling scared when I think of the ascension. I feel fierce for
Yeah.
some reason because I like this good old world and I like this forest and these chickens and my little life. Like I live like a hobbit and I do like it.
Yeah.
If I am to ascend, would I what would happen to me?
Okay. Again, I don't know everything. This is just what I believe. I I believe, okay, how do I even put this into words? That
Like, do I stay or do I go? Me
you
have
stay,
okay. Oh, good. Okay.
that
Okay.
we still are in these bodies, yet it's not as dense as it
Mm,
has been. It's lighter, it's freer. I believe that the so much of our life right now is about the brain, and that we're going to live from our hearts at this point. So what I work on with clients too is the heart is the center. Yes, we need our brain and we also need our intuition. Yet this is the guiding force versus the brain being guiding force being versus intuition being get the guiding force, that we use all of these components, yet the heart is the driver.
mhm.
So in this ascension, the heart, we are going to be heart centered. So imagine what that is going to be like. So we're going to move away from victimhood, materialism. There's going to be this true understanding that we are all connected. And this censorship, this division that is alive and well right now, that is going to go away. So your connection to Mother Nature, to plants, that is going to become even greater. So I feel what you're talking about is just going to be more magnified,
Okay.
and that the truth and connection with other human beings, you're going to be able to go back to that, because right now parts of it are very challenging, because there is this, if I speak my truth and this person here doesn't like it, well, you can't be a part of my world anymore. That's going to stop.
Yeah. No good to have
True
these
harmony.
drags, these conversations about climate change and stuff. It's like I don't care. It's like the flat
Yeah,
Earth
because
thing. It's like I
none of
don't
that's
care.
true.
Yeah, it doesn't
Right.
affect me. But yeah, no, I'm thinking about chakras now. You were talking about
Yeah.
the heart, and I've
Yeah.
lived with this belief for a very long time. When I dabbled in Reiki myself, oh, 20 years ago or so. Again, I might say 20 years ago a lot because involved with I was a Freemason.
Oh, no way.
When I was 19 years old, I was recruited into Freemasonry, and I was into chakras, and I was into Wicca and paganism and so many things. And
Whoa.
I settled when I discovered Buddhism. I was like, okay, you know what? This seems like something that's tried, tested, it's worked for people, and I started to meditate, and it's like this is very simple actually. This is a good path for me personally, just
Mhm.
me. So I'm happy to say I am a Buddhist, and but you know what, I feel like I'm in the closet too, because our Western world doesn't want to hear you say I am a member of a religion, you know. And I've lost friends for that, since that they don't like to hear these words for some reason. But
Right.
maybe later we could look at this concept spirituality versus religion, but I'm thinking about chakras right now. The heart chakra. We've lived on this world in a very gut-centered, the lower chakras, you could say, the
Yes.
fighting, the
Hmm.
effing, and the what are the bottom three all about? They're much more fighting and sex and debauchery and alcoholism and living and that real guttural animal way. And
Yeah.
our
Fear.
heart chakra is closed because of, I guess, our culture, our education, and all so many things going on. So this
Mhm.
ascension, maybe the heart chakra is just going to open. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just coming. What do you think of that?
Yep. Yep. I'm going to give a big shout out to Dolores Cannon. She's passed on at this point, yet she is pivotal in talking about the three waves of starseeds. That I believe I'm in the second wave, and that the children that are coming in, that they come into this world already with their DNA already evolved. And they're going to help us move into this higher vibration where I feel I'm, not coming from an ego perspective, but one of the pioneers within this or whatever, because part of it too, it's been really hard to be this essentially because people are like, what are you talking about, Eden? What are you saying? Um, Yet going back to religion, it's been really interesting, David, because I now have a whole bunch of Christians that specifically come to me because I don't know if this is the highest way to say it or not, yet all of my work is about God or the universe. And I do believe that we're all on the same path, that there is no, unless you want to believe it, that you believe something different. Well, we're supposed to believe different things from each other because
Yes,
otherwise
yes,
we'd be just
exactly.
homogenous and the world would
Yeah.
be boring.
Yes, 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 yes. If you have
So,
I've heard a great analogy. If you have a
yeah,
flower garden with all one type of flower, not as great as a flower garden with all different types of flowers. So you can
yes,
think of the world of religion and the world of spirituality and all the great things you're into and my ordinary little Zen thing that I do. It's all leading us to just become human beings, for God's sake,
right.
because we're living in an era of inhumanity. If you, that's how I see. I like to think very
Yes,
simple and very direct sometimes.
that is,
What does it mean to
and
be a human in this day and age?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And what is love? And love is embracing everybody, knowing that they are you. Yet, in doing this, it also doesn't mean that we are all part of this collective consciousness and we're robots all together. Yet, there is all still these unique components to each of us that are so beautiful. So, my path is to be this light worker, this healer, where another person's path might be, to be a nurse or to be a teacher. That none of these mean that I'm better because I'm doing this ascended work better than you, that we are all a gardener and growing things. And there's so many different connections to the divine and how your life path and how you come to be into these things that come to you. Because you're David, man, just what I have gleaned off this session, how interesting, right? That all these segments have come to you and brought you on this path. So my path also isn't to go, oh, this person's wrong and this person's wrong.
Yeah.
I I embrace it all and really attempt to move out of judgment
Mm,
myself.
mm.
That can I just love you?
Yeah. I buy eggs. I'm getting chickens, as I said. I'm working on the fence,
Yes.
digging out tree roots with my bare hands and a pickaxe. That's
Oh
fun
man,
to put the fence in. But anyway, but that's good work. At the end of the day, you feel very proud that you're really taking care of your own business and you don't need that stupid old
it's
government
nice.
anymore. But what were you saying? I had a great thought there. Thinking about
Ooh,
chickens threw me off.
which part?
Yes. Okay, I remember. I remember. I
Okay.
buy my eggs from a farmer currently, and I
Yeah.
drive 45 minutes to his farm. He's a
Wow.
Baptist, hardcore, okay, Baptist.
Hmm.
And I don't know a lot about the Baptist religion myself, but I know that they take it pretty seriously, okay? And he says
Hmm.
things to
Yes, they
me
do.
about homosexuals, and he really says things that in my mind I would push back on if it wasn't a voluntary exchange of goods and services. Um, but I don't want to paint him in a negative light at all, because he may have said that once about a cousin he has. Because we
Mhm.
talk at great length about religion, spirituality, what's happening in our world. And I
Wow.
told him, like, I come at things from a Buddhist think, and he was like, "Oh, how interesting! Tell me about it." And I was
That's
like,
great.
This is a conversation between men,
Yes.
humans. Sorry, like human beings. This is a human conversation. Oh, you believe something I don't? Well, tell me about it.
Let's hear about it.
Let's find out
Right.
how because I can link my quote religion to everything you're saying. I can
Mhm.
think all of these things lead somewhere very similar, no matter how you get there. But I'm
Yes.
not sure what it is, because I wouldn't want to take that hubris of saying I know the greatest mystery, because I really do not. I don't, and I admit it. I really don't.
Well,
My
and
the present moment is more my angle.
yes. Yes. Uh, it is. I love that story because it is. It's just like you said, the joy and wonderment, and what brought you down this path? And it's really interesting too with all the agendas that are out there, especially the transgender agenda. Yet it's still loving everybody
Yeah, yeah.
because you have also been transgender, you have been Black, you have been male, you have been a woman.
Mm.
So,
You're talking
in
about
essence,
previous lives. You're talking about all the previous lives and so forth.
yes,
Yeah.
again, we've all had these experiences. So, in a sense, you're not different from me. So,
Yeah.
for me to fully embrace you, okay, and what I would encourage for people is just to have an open mind, even if you come from a specific religion or whatever you want to call it. How can you embrace more? How can you, like with me, this is what I've learned, yet more? Maybe there's a construct that I believed in all these years that suddenly I come onto something and it's like, oh my gosh, that isn't true. Can I let go of that and evolve myself? Yes, I can.
Mhm.
Can I continue to learn? Can I continue to grow? Can I listen to other people? Can I take in what they're saying? Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this is about.
Yeah, and just take it easy on each other, for God's sake.
Yes, that
You're
too.
talking about the parallel lives and the reincarnation and the numerous past lives and numerous future lives. That is such a thing that I do believe very strongly.
Hmm.
And in Tibet, they have a saying, "We were all each other's mother once."
Yeah.
That's how long this has been happening.
Hmm.
And people even asked the Buddha, like, when did all this start? All of this when was the first lifetime? He says, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. Because the Buddha's
Well,
job is not to tell everybody what to do. He says,
yes.
look at your own mind, and then you can come back and tell me what
And
you
then you
find
come
there.
back.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's really interesting with the ascension. I also believe that some of this karma stuff coming back and forth is going to stop because, in a large degree, that's also, if you want to get back to a slavery system, doing this over and over and over again, that we are getting to this point where we can stop some of this now. So, one of the reasons I believe my divorce was so pivotal was it was a very karmic relationship. And I had to get out of it because I'm no longer going to do that anymore. And with relationships now, I only, is this fair? Yeah, only high vibe relationships with me. And it's essentially because these are the only people that I really click with, yet also opening the door into, okay, how do I even say this, David? Like this has been very pivotal for me the past couple months. So within these past 4 years, kind of like hermetizing myself to a certain degree because I didn't fit in here. I couldn't talk here. I couldn't do that. And now branching out again because it's more of a, I guess, truly walking my walk and acceptance of everybody. Can I be a part of this group? Can I be myself in this group? Well, yeah. Can I love this group even though their opinions are very different than mine? Yes, I can. So I've just started with that the past couple months ago. So going back out more
Yeah.
into the world.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's exciting
Yeah,
to talk about.
I like that. I like that. Just if you feel strong in yourself and confident in your own path, and you feel you're doing a good job and you're being a good person and you're not causing trouble for people, I think that this is good. And if someone comes at you with some grandiose scientific theory about how great the vaccine is, you can be like, okay,
That's
that's
yeah.
fine. That's fine. You do you, mommy, whatever, like for this COVID thing, people, it's no good, this stuff, this psychological operations, as a Buddhist, I take a very close look at these psyops, because I think the mind obviously is the most important asset we have.
Yes. And
And
I'm
the
really,
hearts, right? The heart and the mind are
yes.
one organ, I would say.
Yes. And I feel I'm pretty good at asking non-judgmental questions just to get people to think, not to come in and go like, oh, that's what you believe, but oh my gosh, what about this? And what do you think about this? So engaging in conversations without judgment, I think is also pivotal. Not that I'm
Yes.
going to turn you towards my point of view and my beliefs, but yeah, let's hear about things and let's pose some questions.
Speaking of questions, we've been at
Yes.
this for over an hour, and
Oh,
I do want to just see, how you're feeling, and I have 2 hours to spare before my next podcast. I'm a double header today. This I don't usually do two in
whoa,
one day.
nice.
Yeah. Oh, I got a big one coming up here. But
Oh,
no, I have time, is what I'm saying. For if you want to go another 20 minutes, 25 minutes, or to wrap it up, we could do a little wrap up, outro. How are you feeling? Eden cause.
well, let's see. Do you have any additional questions?
I
Why don't
have
we go for like,
millions of questions.
oh, why don't we go for like 10 more minutes?
Okay, sure. 10 more minutes. Let's see what we got here. We've gotten into some of the major things I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah,
But if there's other stuff, oh boy. When does the spiritual path end?
never.
When are you comfortable in your, because here's the why I ask this. The Buddha said, this path is not something you carry with you. You engage in your spiritual path, you wake up and you get in this boat, which is the spiritual path, these
Yeah.
teachings. You go across the river, you get out of the boat and you continue. You cross the
Mhm.
turbulent river of birth and death and all of whatever. You relinquish your ego. You become a good person. You get out of the boat. You don't bring it with you. So, what do you think of this question if I were to ask you, when does the spiritual path end? And this is a bit of a deep one. It's a little metaphysical, perhaps. What do you think? Or does it?
Do
Maybe
you
it
want
doesn't
it?
end. Maybe it doesn't end. Also, you can say that too, because
Yeah.
I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure. This is just a very philosophical question that I have in my head all the time.
I think, okay, let me see how to phrase this too. I feel that source got lonely in essence and wanted to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially created all these galaxies and cosmoses, if you want to say it that way, in order for source to also grow. And you could also say God is all knowing, yet I feel, okay, let's see what people think about this.
Mm-hmm.
I, I feel that God is also always expanding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
That,
okay. Okay. Yeah. No, this
okay,
is good.
yeah,
We're going to continue on this just a little more because I
okay,
wonder about was there a Big Bang, or you could say a creation of the universe by a conscious being, entity, or source,
yes.
has the universe always been there, like an eternity? Because I think human beings have a lot of trouble with this concept of infinity.
That's a great question, David, because there are so many galaxies. I mean, what if creation is infinite? I mean, I think it is. So maybe there was a galaxy that was created and then another one here. And who knows if they're
Hmm.
who
We'll never know, eh?
knows?
We'll never know that
Never
one.
knows. And that is the great thing that
Hmm.
I feel that we, our souls, just keep evolving because if there was an end point, what I mean, a part of me would be like, I did all of this to get to an end point. That just seems very anticlimactic.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like I like the thought of continuing to grow, continuing to expand, that this is just limitless and also you could go, oh my gosh, this goes on forever. When's it going to stop?
Yeah,
Yet,
that's kind of my thinking.
yet it
I
just
want to
gets
just feel,
better and better.
I want to feel that I'm healthy, comfortable, safe,
Yeah.
strong, empowered, and I can move forward as a human being in this world and face my death squarely without fear. To me, this is the culmination and the end of a spiritual journey as a human. What do you think of that?
Say that again.
It's lackluster, maybe, but we Buddhists are rightly condemned as being a little nihilistic.
All right. So you believe this life is David?
Well, I guess what I mean is
Okay.
um, when the ego just leaves you finally, once and for all. You no
Mhm.
longer are fighting with others. You're not fighting with yourself. You're not struggling to survive. You're not depressed. You're not anxiety. You know what I'm saying? You feel spiritually okay. Everything's okay. You feel fine. Um, do I need to keep meditating? Do I need to keep reading spiritual books? Or do I continue with this ordinary just be? Now we have our outro and our segue to just be, your philosophy and my philosophy. Just be. To me, this could be a grand culmination of ordinary simplicity and profundity also to,
Hmm.
I don't know, feel good, feel ordinary. What do you think of any of these ideas? And well, this will be our
I
outro talk because
There you
your
go.
business is called Just Be.
We're going to drop the mic on this one.
Mic drop.
Boop boop. I feel that meditation, it isn't just when you go into a practice, it is now. Being in the moment, being here with you, being connected to you. That I've had several people too ask me, "Oh, what is your practice?" I'm like, "Well, I when I work with clients, I'm in a meditative state when I do that. So, but yet when I'm here just talking to you, I'm in a meditation. I'm in the present.
Mhm.
So it is what you said essentially that we don't have to go into a meditation. We don't just being, and that's the goal. And I also believe that the ego is important, that does make us human, yet getting away from the attachments of that,
Mhm.
that it also helps ground us, that there's a part of it that we need in essence. um does that
Yeah, it
really
does.
answer
And
your
it makes me
question?
think of something really interesting to run by you again
Yeah.
here. There's arguments in the Buddhist world about this
Yeah.
concept. Because the Buddha had no ego, he got rid of it. But
Okay.
and so, and the path would be, how do we do the same? And people do believe that you actually, that was a special sort of creature, a special sort
Hmm.
of person that only arrives once every billion years on this planet. And now that he's been gone a long time, sorry,
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
who do we look up to?
Oh,
Where's our teachers?
you are. I am. We all are, because if we're not separate from that beauty, from Buddha, from Jesus, and I don't, we are all a part of Source, are a part of God. So we are living entities of that and breathing entities of that, that no one through this great awakening can be our savior. It's for us to be that light, for us to be that ascension. Okay. And David, you are working on it, just seeing the compassion and the beauty and the heartfeltness of what you just experienced. That's it.
Hmm.
That's everything.
Yeah. I do agree with you also there, because we really are our own teacher. Yeah.
And through this, part of what has been held down is how powerful we are. And, you know, in terms of what I do, so one of my things is I'm a psychological empath. So when people come to see me, I can feel their feelings and feel blocks and feel like I can do that. Like everyone has that capacity, yet
Mhm.
I know it because I've worked on releasing my own blocks and peeling the onion and psychic. So I connect with people that are past because it really is just a veil. It's not real. Yet we can all do these things because we are powerful beyond measure. And the fluoride in the water, all of this to make our pineal gland calcified,
Mhm.
that as we start eating better, as we start doing this meditation, we can really start to move into that because we are not disconnected from Buddha. We are not disconnected from Jesus. We are not disconnected from all these ascended masters. And
Mhm.
as we bring that energy more into us, we, man, and this is we are God. We are part of God. So
Yeah.
none of this is separate from us. So let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go, David. Come
Yeah.
on.
No, that's good. I think we've hit the cherries on the cake of this conversation. I think that we've got
Thank
where we
you.
need to go here. That we're all on the same road as human beings in this world, in some sense.
Yeah, and all
And
we need to
no
do is
matter how we get there, we're gonna get there
yes.
anyway, wherever there happens to be. Huh?
Yeah, and I believe with the great split, that's a great thing to add, that everyone at some point is going to ascend.
Yeah.
It's just
Yes.
a different time frame, even though time is not real for everybody. So I would encourage, do not have fear, meditate, get connected to the heart, because the heart is all of this, and it's everything.
The path with heart.
Okay.
So should we shake off the?
Woo! Shake it. David, thank you so
Yeah, thank
much
you.
for
Thank
having
you.
me on your show today. This was an
I
awesome
knew it. I
conversation.
knew this was going to be a good chat, and I thank you. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
why don't you send me an email with all of the links you want me to put? Because I know you got a few different channels and a little product thing there. So, and I'll put all of that in there. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. See y'all later.
See y'all later.